We know that in our PHP, every framework, CodeIgniter, Laravel, Gen framework, Cake PHP, every framework was created and built upon by using this MVC architecture. See, MVC architecture is not only available in PHP. If you can go to Java and .NET and you can go to Ruby and everywhere, MVC is common, guys. What is MVC architecture is saying for the PHP, the same is by .NET and Java also. I mean, why we are using MVC for our PHP application development? For the same cost, Java .NET people also using. What are the
Sir,
advantages of MVC
Python also,
in
no,
our
sir?
PHP? Yeah, everything. What are the advantages available in PHP? The same is available for .NET Java also, guys. So this is what you guys should know exactly. All right. So what exactly the MVC is going to be help us? How we can use MVC in our application development, guys. Seriously, I have to tell you one more thing. Almost all right now, the CMSs also, WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Magento, almost all the CMSs are also turned into MVC architecture. Earlier, we have WordPress. That is not MVC, that much MVC, but some of the parts of the now becomes into MVC. You know, WordPress 5 is into the market, they're MVC. Drupal up to Drupal 7, that is not MVC, but some of the things followed MVC. But now Drupal, everything they make it as a MVC, guys. Drupal module development, Drupal theme development, everything will become under somewhat MVC. But earlier we can use procedural also without using object-oriented PHP also. We can work with WordPress, we can work with Drupal. But right now, Drupal 8 and 9th versions are completely object-oriented, right? That is nothing but MVC. But if you want to know about this MVC architecture, we have to know some basics. We are discussing these MVC and object-oriented PHP. So for understanding of a CodeIgniter framework, guys. But if you want to know about MVC, before we have to know object-oriented PHP, at least the basics. We already seen at least the basics. What is a class? What is an object? Right? What a class can contain? This keyword, self keyword, constructor, destructor, as well as we've seen some examples also. Inheritance also we've seen, right? So now the MVC architecture. What is MVC architecture? Why should I use MVC architecture? In interview, people may ask us, guys, what is MVC? Don't say model view controller. Everybody knows that is abbreviated as model view controller. What is they're asking you? What is MVC? Who asked you the abbreviation of MVC? Don't say abbreviation always. What is HTML? Hypertext Markup Language. Everybody knows. Don't say abbreviations here. What is a use? At least if we can say, people will be very happy with your answer. What is MVC? I will tell you. MVC is a design pattern. Again, there is a question. What is a design pattern, sir? So my answer is here. MVC is a design pattern which is used to organize the code into a structured manner. So what is exactly this MVC? MVC is a design pattern which is used, what exactly this is, guys? Which is used to organize the code into a structured manner. Why should I organize this code in a structured manner? But that's what very, very important thing, guys. MVC, simply, see, always I'm saying you, don't say the abbreviation. If anybody asks you what is MVC, but you cannot say the abbreviation. What you have to say, guys, here, you have to say MVC is a design pattern. By using this, we can organize our code into a structured manner. Right? What is a design pattern now? That is what exactly. Design pattern. The name itself is saying that designing the code. What is the meaning of it? How can we design the code? Nothing, guys. Designing the code here in the sense, you cannot use any CSS and all here. That's not the matter here. Designing means organizing. Place the code into proper location. For example, I want to show you one thing. Let me open registration.php, one of the file. In the previous sessions, I created one register.php. This is the file I have. Can you see this register.php? This is our core PHP, right? So we written PHP code on top of that. We written some HTML code, and this is some CSS file also I linked here, and this is some PHP code again here, right? After that, some HTML code I written. This is all about the HTML form. After that, you can see some JavaScript code I written. So what this page contains, if you can observe this, normal registration form, guys. This is our register.php. This file contains HTML. Okay, this file contains CSS. This file contains JavaScript and PHP and MySQL. This is all the things contained by this file. So we written all the code into a single file, that is register.php. What MVC is saying that, don't write all the code into a single file. Please separate the presentation logic is nothing but HTML and CSS, and please separate the business logic that is nothing but our PHP. So organizing the code means you have to save. See, in this file, HTML, JavaScript, and everything we written in a single file. What MVC is saying that don't write HTML, CSS, PHP, MySQL, and everything in a single file. Write HTML code in a separate location. Write PHP into a separate location. This is called organizing the code. This is called designing the code. This is called design pattern. So separate the code. If you can separate PHP from HTML or HTML from PHP, the code readability looks good. We can read the code easily. Where is HTML? HTML was in a separate file. PHP was in a separate file. It is easy. But if we are mixing up all the code into one location, it will be difficult to us to understand why you written this code, when to this is going to be called, and all. Somewhat there is a confusion. So that is what we did in the core PHP. But when we are learning frameworks, definitely what is the way of doing code? You did some coding in the core PHP that is not going to be implemented in the frameworks, guys. Always, whatever the code we guys are writing, that code should be separated into a different folder, different locations. But here we written everything in one place. But in MVC architecture, we cannot write everything in one place. HTML code, separate location, PHP code, separate location. We have to combine them. So by using a concept called controller, that is what nothing but MVC architecture. So what architecture is saying that separate the code HTML and PHP. Don't combine like core PHP. In core PHP, we combine HTML and CSS and PHP code. What MVC is saying, the architecture means we have to follow some guidelines. Write HTML code one place, write PHP code in one place, combine them wherever we want. By writing this, what is the advantage? We can reuse the code, guys. We can reuse the HTML, we can reuse the PHP code also wherever we want. But if you are combining everything in one file, this is not going to be reused here. So this is only for register. For example, here I have some filter data function is there. So this function I required into some other, then what you want me to do? You want me to write the same function again there? No? This function was written in each and everywhere. So you written in register.php, we can write this login.php, everywhere we written. No, sir, I don't want to write this in everywhere. I define this function in every file, each and every file. I want to define in one file, but if I define in one file, it should be reused in each and every file of your application. This is what the reusability. This MVC, by separating the presentation logic with business logic, here people will say two words, guys, technical words: presentation logic and business logic. What is presentation logic? What is business logic? We have to know, guys. This is what exactly the presentation logic and business logic, right? So 1 minute, guys, please. Yes, guys, what exactly presentation logic, what exactly business logic here? Presentation, what is the meaning of presentation? The things which we can see, right? So this is comes under HTML, CSS, jQuery, JavaScript, and everything we can write inside of it, guys, right? So business logic, it's all about our PHP, and MySQL will come under this part. So what they are saying that write HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery into one file, write all the PHP and MySQL logic in one file, and they have to be separated into two different folders. So write HTML in one folder, all HTML files should be in one folder, write PHP files in one folder, combine them wherever we want. Presentation logic, we'll talk about HTML. Here, I want to write one point here, the main goal of the main goal of MVC architecture is, they will write the point like this: separating the presentation logic with business logic. This is what the point we have to realize. What is the main? Why should I use MVC? To separate the presentation logic with the business logic. What is the meaning of it? But if it is a core PHP, we combine the presentation logic and business logic. What MVC is saying that don't combine. Separate presentation logic, separate business logic into two different locations. Wherever you want, you can call them. This is what the MVC architecture is saying, guys. The main goal of MVC is separate the presentation logic with the business logic. What exactly MVC here? How we can separate? That's why the name itself is called MVC. There is nothing but the standards for model, view, and controller. What is a controller? What is a model? What is a view? Now we have to answer for this, guys, right? So this is going to be a model. This is going to be a view. And what is a view? And what is a controller? These are all the things we have to know about it, guys. A model. What is a model here? A model will always talk about database logic, guys. Database operations, right? Let me write a point here. A model will always remember these words, very important. Will always deals with database operations. What are the database operations? You already know. Maybe inserting data, selecting data, deleting data. So what a model? Simply said, what is a model? Actually, you know, a model is a class, guys. Actually, as per the architecture, a model is a class file. I want to write it simply a class file. This is a file. Simply, what is a model? Model is a folder. Inside that folder, we have a lot of files. That files will always handle with database operations. Okay, right. A model is a class files which is having logic of database operations. What is the logic we are writing inside the class file? A model folder may can see. This is what I want to do. Let us assume this is a model folder, models folder. This folder may contain register.php. Okay, understand? And this is going to be login.php. Different files, guys. All are models. What is this register.php? This contain insertion logic. This contain login verification logic. All about model files will always talk about database operations. Okay, right. Now view. What is a view, guys? A view folder, views or view, whatever it may be, guys. Here, a view is always talk about the front end. So a view file will always deal with the front end designing, guys, right? So a view file, a view is also a file. A view is also a file which contains presentation logic. Nothing but HTML, CSS, different templates, guys, right? So here for this, if you can go to views folder, there we can do something like this, guys. Views folder. Here we have register.php. What is this register.php? This PHP file contain HTML code, but this PHP file contain database logic code. So I'm mentioning the same name because we have to establish the relation, right? So this model is going to be communicated with this view like this, guys. So this is, I want to give you one more thing. This is going to be login.php. I mean, so these views, in views, we have two files. In models also, we have two files. But these two files are handling with the database operation. But these two files are handling with the presentation logic. Nothing but it's all about the HTML. So registration form we have to display. We have to display login form, right? These files will do the job. So whatever the data we are entering in the registration form, the data we have to save into the DB now, that data will be saved by this register.php. Whatever the login form, in the login form you are entering your username and password. This password and username should be verified by a database. This file will handle this logic, guys. Now finally, controller. I'm writing this as heart of MVC architecture, guys. So people will also call this as a TRA. Traffic cop. People will also call them as a traffic cop. Why traffic cop? You know, in MVC, remember carefully, each and every request will be handled by the controller only. This point is very important. If you want to get data, or if you want to save data, or if you want to insert whatever it may be, first the request should be received by the controller, guys. If the controller is not there, there is no MVC, nothing. Why should I use if the controller is not there? Each and every request will be received by this controller. This is exactly the MVC. Right? Without controller, nothing. Every request you want to delete, you want to update, you want to insert, you want to view, or you want to do some operation. First, the request should come to controller. Controller will decide what to do, what not to do. Simply says. That is what exactly. If the controller is not there, so MVC have some rules and regulations. Those rules and regulations you have to follow and you have to implement the application development. You can't do your own way. What is MVC is saying that you have to follow those rules, then only your application will be MVC. If you, without following MVC rules, this is my registration.php, you are able to see register.php. Can I call this MVC? No, I cannot call. Why? Because you did not follow any rule of MVC here. You combined everything in a single file. And then can I call this MVC? No, I cannot call this as an MVC, guys, because you didn't follow the rules and regulations here, right? So let me explain you the same in diagrammatic manner also, so that it will be very clear for you guys. Let's open some paint here. Yeah. So now let me take a browser. Let us assume this is the browser window. Okay, guys. Let us assume this is the browser window. Generally, in browser window, we will search for URLs, right? Let me do one thing. Let me make a address bar here. Let us assume, guys, you are requesting for my application. Let us assume the application will be something like this. Okay, I'll try to see what I want to do here. I'm searching for a URL. Let us assume http://example.com something. You are searching for it. Or register. Okay, whatever it may be, you can take something called register. Register. So this is the URL you typed, guys. What is this, guys? This is I'm considering as a browser. Okay, browser. Generally, where can we access the web application? From the browser only, na? See, when we are typing example.com/register, it has to open a registration form to you on the browser, right? For example, so in my local machine, 1 minute, I have to show you localhost ci/register. Can you see? Registration form is open now. So in this registration form, did you see here I have typed register. Once you type register, it look for register and it is opening a view. Here in the view, you are going to enter some data. On submit this, where it will go? It has to go to somewhere. Where it will go? The somewhere. That's what the question here. Now, what I want to do exactly, guys, here. example.com/register. So this application, example.com application, was created and developed by using PHP, by using framework. Any of the framework they use and they developed, guys. Now, one thing remember carefully. So this application, let us assume MVC built, right? So then what I want to do here, I just want to create an architecture, guys. This is my architecture diagram. Can you see? I'm writing this architecture. Okay, let us assume this is my architecture. So we need database also now. Let me create small database also here. So this is, I have to create database here. Wait for a minute. Let me do a small finish of the database, guys, here. Let us assume this is our database. Okay. Consider this our database. So this is our MySQL database or whatever it may be. So let us do one thing. So exactly here I want to do something like this. Okay. Consider me, this is the MySQL database. 1 minute. Let me clean this here, the line, so it will be like database. Perfect. Let us assume this is our MySQL database. The name I am going to mention this generally MySQL database, and this is our MVC architecture. So what is this? MVC architecture. Architecture. Okay, done. When a user requests in the browser, definitely it has to load some code now, right? Remember, the code will be called something like this, guys. This is the one part. I have to divide this into 3 divisions. The architecture is again now. This is one part and this is one part. Try to see what exactly we are doing here. So I have to name them. So this is going to be controllers. Controllers. Okay. These are all going to be views. I mean, all HTML files will be here. And this is going to be models, M-O-D-E-L-S. All the model files will be available here, guys. This is what exactly how to check it. Okay. Right. So, 1 minute. Write something called models. Can you see the architecture? See, when you are requesting the browser, tell me please, first the request will come to where? You are hitting enter, guys. So this is the URL. So after entering the URL, you are hitting submit button. On submit button, where it will go? By just hitting enter. You are hitting enter. So first, this is the browser. From browser, it has to go to our server. There is an architecture called MVC. So it has to communicate. Do you know? First, the request will be received by the controller, guys. Remember carefully. Who will receive the request here? The first request will always receive once the browser you hit enter. First the request is received by the controller. Actually, we are requesting for registration form. Where is our registration form? My registration form in the view folder generally. So where is our registration form, guys? My register form should be available here actually. So this is our HTML file. So I have to write something called register underscore view.php. You can name it anything, no problem, guys. My file name is register view.php. This file contains HTML code. This HTML code should be displayed in the browser now. So generally, can I send a request directly like this to the browser? And this is, no, it is impossible, guys. Remember, a browser will never communicate with our views folder directly. Right? As per MVC architecture, first the request should go to controller. So in a controller, again, you have a class file. So what is a class file, guys? Here also I have a file called register.php. I'm creating a file. This is a register.php. First, the request was, see, what is the name you mentioned here? Can you see the name you mentioned here? What is the name you mentioned in the browser URL? Register. With the same name in our controllers folder, there should be a file, guys. What is the file name? Register.php. I mean, whatever the URL parameter at the end of it register, right, with the same name, there is a controller in your controllers folder. This controller file will decide what to load, how to load, when to load, what to validate, and all. Everything will be decided by this controller. That's why it is called heart of our PHP. For every action there, we can create one controller. See, this controller, now what happened, the request from this controller, the request will go to views. Okay, first from the browser, you send a request. First, the request received by the controller. Of that controller is deciding what to load. It is sent to the view. In the view, there is a file called register view. See, can I send this view directly to the browser? Impossible. It won't go. Right. Again, once the request came here, again it will go to your register.php controller. After controller, then only it will go to the browser. See the request communication, guys. If you send a request to application, first the request received by the controller, and the controller is going to the view. After that, view is going to again the controller, then only request is going to the browser. This is the communication. See, from the browser, you cannot access the view file directly. It is impossible. As for MVC architecture, you can do something like this. Okay, right. Once form is submitted, guys. So what is going to be happen here? So here in this, so we are displaying the registration form. Let us assume the registration form displayed here. Let us assume, guys. So in this registration form, what user will do? User will enter the data, username, right? Of that user needs to enter the email also, no? So user will enter the email password like this. Let me draw some boxes here. Okay, 1 minute. Let me have some boxes. Let us assume we displayed the form. Okay. In this form, the user entering the data. On submit the form, what happens is the request should save in the database now. Remember, can I send the data to whatever the data you are entering in this database table? Can I save this data into database directly? As per MVC, it is not possible. But if it is a core PHP, we can directly save the data without having any problem. But if it is an MVC, right, whatever the data we are having here, this data should again go to where it has to go to. Can I send the data to model directly? No, guys. Remember, it is not possible. Whatever the data we are having here, remember carefully. Let me take something called, this is the data you are submitting. Let us assume you are submitting the data. 1 minute. Let me have a diagrammatic manner. So here is the data. Let us assume some data is here. Whatever the data we are having here, this data should be saved in the DB now. Let us assume you submitted the contact form. Once you submitted the contact form, the data was here, right? So this is the data was here, right? This data we have to save in the database, right? Can I save this data in the database directly? Is it okay? No. Okay, it is not correct thing. One more thing. Can I save the data to model? Is it okay? No, it is also not correct, guys. Remember carefully. I am going to save the data to model directly. From model, can I send the data to database? Is it okay? No, this is also not correct. Remember, whatever the data you are having, you are submitting, again the data should come to controller. Remember, you want to send the data to database or you want to insert into something, whatever it may be, first it should be come to controller, then it will go for model. In model, there is a file. So we have to handle the data now. So what is the data to handle this? There is again, we are going to create a file, register model.php. One file is there. What is this file will do? This file will collect the data which is received from the controller. After that, what it will do, it will send the data to database. This model file will send the data to database. After that, database will send you a response back here. After that, from here, the request will go to controller again. From here, the request will go to browser. In the browser, there we can see a success message. Do you see the communication between a model and a view and controller? So browser is sending a request. First we loaded the view. How we loaded the view? First request received with the controller. After that it went to views folder. It will load the respective view. After loading the respective view, again that is coming to controller. See, each and every request and response, whatever you want to do, that should first come to controller. That may be insertion, that may be success message. First controller will decide what to do, how to do, and all, everything will be handled by the controller. Right, this is what exactly the MVC guys here, right? Okay, one doubt for me, sir, here a model and view can communicate each other. This is a model and view guys. Can they communicate each other? Because they look side by side, na? Right, this communication is okay. Remember, this communication is impossible. A view and a model will never communicate directly in MVC. This communication is not possible. If a view want to communicate with a model or a model want to communicate with the view, this should be happen via a controller. Without controller, you can't do anything. If there is no controller, nothing. So as MVC means controller, there should be a controller. Controller will controls the application flow. Each and every request and response are handled by the controller only. That's why controller is called traffic cop, or you can say front controller, whatever it may be guys. For everything, controller will play a key role here. If there is no controller, nothing will do, nothing will happen. So guys, remember this diagram once again. This diagram will give you clearly. Like this, we may have a lot of files in controllers. We have register.php. Now we have login.php in login view, and here also login model.php like this. Let me show you some files guys practically, so that you will also get some clarity. Let me show you an architecture here so that you will get some clarity. 1 minute. I want to show you one framework for you here. I want to show you. Can you see? This is my controllers folder. This is my models folder, and this is my views folder. Can you see? This is our MVC only. But this is CodeIgniter 3. Don't worry, the same folder is available in our CodeIgniter 3 also. Controllers folder. If I open this controllers folder, can you see what it contains? Can you see all the files? These are all the class files, guys. Can you see all the class files which contain controlling logic? Different files. Control. See, in diagram, I just mentioned register.php. Can you see the same register.php is available here? Can you see? Where is this register.php? There you can see register.php is available for me. I want to go to my models folder. Can you see there is a model called register model? Yes, there is a model called register model. And if you can go to views folder, can you see there is a file called register view? Now, register view should be there. Maybe go to the bottom of the page. There you can see register view is there. So like this, I created these files, guys. Just I mentioned only one file in each and every box. Controller box, one file. View box, one file. Models, one file. I mean, each and every box is a folder. In our app folder, we have a lot of folders, guys. If you can check this here, there are a lot of folders, but we don't worry about all these folders. Does not require. Don't worry. Each and every folder will play a different role, but we are discussing majorly 3 folders: controllers and our models and views. In our MVC architecture folder, in the diagram, in MVC architecture diagram, I just mentioned only 3 folders. I didn't mention all the folders. They are not required also. You have to understand only this: model, view, controller. What a model can do, a model will always perform database operations. Right? I have a doubt, guys. Sir, can I insert data, whatever the data we have in this, can I insert data directly in the database from controller, from the browser? It is impossible, guys. MVC does not allow you to do this kind of stuff. So a view, see whatever the data we are having in the view, can I save the data, view data into your database directly? Can I save this into database directly? Is it valid? Can I do it, guys? So from view, can I save data from database? No, only the person, model is the person, he can only save the data into database. No others can allow, guys, here. Even a controller also, remember, a controller also cannot save the data into database. A model is always a responsible person to save the data into database. A view is always a responsible person to display a kind of HTML stuff. A controller is always a responsible person to handle each and every request which are coming, which are going out. So that is nothing but by the controller, guys. Each and every model, Right. I mean, what I want to say, each and every person has an individual role. Controller will do a different job. A view will always do the presentation logic. A model will always do database logics, guys. So controller cannot perform DB operations. A view cannot perform DB operations. Who will perform DB operations? Only model. A model can perform view operation. Can I use a model to display the view? You cannot. Can I use controller to display a view? You cannot. Who will display a view? Always a view file will always display a view into the users, guys. So this is vice versa is not possible. Can I use model as a view? Not possible. Can I use view as a model? No. Can I use controller as a model and view? No. Controller duty is different. View role is different, as well as register duty is different, guys. Our model duty is different. Each and every person is playing different role. Okay, sometimes in CodeIgniter 3, it is possible by using controller also. Remember, in CodeIgniter 3, guys, what I want to say, in CodeIgniter 3, by using controller also, I can save the data into database, guys. It is possible. By using controller also, we can save the data into database without having model. Without touching the model, by using controller, we can save data into database. But it is allowed. We can do in CodeIgniter 3. But if you are doing so, you are omitting the MVC guidelines. You are not following the MVC architecture rules. Maybe CodeIgniter may support to save the data into database with the help of controller, but you can't do like that. It may be supported, but you can't do like that. If you are doing so, you are omitting the architecture guidelines. So always we have to follow strict rules and regulations while we are developing any kind of application, guys. Okay, this is all about that our MVC. The same MVC diagram we are going to, by seeing this MVC only, you are going to understand CodeIgniter 3 framework or CodeIgniter 4 framework, whatever it may be, guys. Right? Definitely, it is going to be help you a lot. We will see it. Don't worry about it, guys. Right? So this is all about MVC, guys.